All right, so it's time for Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka in MCA Pune Stadium. और यहाँ के बारे में अगर बात करें तो आई थिंक ये मैच काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है. जिन्हें लग रहा है कि इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी अ गुड क्लैश, उनको मैं बता दूं कि श्रीलंका एंड अफगानिस्तान बोथ आर कमिंग अप लाइक इन दिस मैच पर्टिकुलरली बाय विनिंग अगेंस्ट अ बिग टीम. सो श्रीलंका ने लास्ट मैच में उन्होंने एक अच्छा मुकाबला खेला, वो एक जीत के साथ आ रहे हैं. वहीं अफगानिस्तान की अगर मैं बात करूं तो अफगानिस्तान भी एक जीत के साथ आ रही है. और इस टूर्नामेंट में अभी भी उनके लिए टूर्नामेंट बच सकता है इफ दे कंटिन्यू टू परफॉर्म इन अ वे. सो डेफिनेटली मुझे लगता है कि बड़ी टीम्स जो है जैसे कि इंग्लैंड और पाकिस्तान है, उनके लिए टूर्नामेंट ये बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, जबकि श्रीलंका और अफगानिस्तान के लिए टूर्नामेंट उनसे बेटर दिखाई पड़ रहा है. सो आई एम हियर टू डिस्कस द सेम जर्नी ऑफ बोथ द टीम्स विद प्रत्यय हियर. प्रत्यय, अफगानिस्तान में श्रीलंका मस्ट बी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर बोथ द टीम्स बिकॉज एटलीस्ट वो बेटर पोजीशन पर होल्ड करी है. इवन श्रीलंका और भी बेटर पोजीशन पे है बिकॉज दे आर वे अहेड देन मोस्ट ऑफ द टीम्स. सो मुझे लगता है कि उनके लिए टूर्नामेंट बेहतर हो सकता है इफ दे रियली मैनेज टू विन सम मैचेस फ्रॉम हियर ऑनवर्ड्स. As I can see their points table पे position, तो after India, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Sri Lanka is at number 5. So इनके लिए तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा टूर्नामेंट ये alive है. So I would like to know your suggestions to Sri Lanka to win today's match so that they can manage to go into the top 4 of the tournament.
See, I think apart from South Africa and India, who have been really, on a juggernaut of sorts, most of the teams are still in action. So you really can't rule anyone out apart from England and Bangladesh, I think. Because there is a bit of a traffic jam right down there. If you win 1 or 2 games in succession, the tables can really turn, and the things can actually start happening for your side. But looking at the journey of both these teams, when Sri Lanka started 3 losses on the trot against South Africa, Pakistan, then Australia, but then they have actually got things back on track, defeating Netherlands and England. More importantly, that's a big. Of course, England is not looking at their best. In fact, it has come to a point that if they now defeat some other team, you might as well call it a World Cup upset because that's how poor their form has been. But you have to give a lot of credit to Sri Lanka, the manner in which they defeated England, bowling them out for 156. Then in the chase, they were equally clinical, hunting down the target in, I guess, 25, 26 overs. So yes, and it's a side, Rajsi, which is really, really, troubled with a lot of injuries. Right now, even the player of the match in the previous game, Lahiru Kumara, he has been ruled out. So, with the limited resources that Sri Lanka have gotten at their disposal, they have really, really done well. Same for Afghanistan, losses to Bangladesh, India and New Zealand. New Zealand one was really, really massive, 149 runs. So that was a net run rate denting loss, you would say. But for them, this tournament is already a success. 2019 World Cup, they hadn't won a single game. And their first World Cup victory dating back to 2015 against Scotland. But coming up in this World Cup, showing the world what they are capable of, defeating England and then Pakistan. I think the defeat against Pakistan was, the victory against Pakistan rather was far more convincing because England, like I said, it's a team which has been completely rolled over every opposition. So defeating Pakistan, which is a team that you would expect to do well in these conditions, that was a definite confidence booster. But like you talked about the journey, I think, 4 games left for both these sides, and if they win 3, then you really will find them in the playoffs, in rather the semi-final contention. But what also you have to take care of is the remaining fixtures. Sri Lanka are going to play Australia, I guess, and Afghanistan rather are going to play Australia and South Africa in the remaining 2 games. So those are tough games. And same is the case with Sri Lanka. They are playing India and New Zealand, right? So they are playing India and New Zealand. So those are 2 tough games. So that kind of makes this game very important because if you win these 2 points right now, then you are giving yourself a little bit of more margin for error in those games. So this is a very, very important game for both these sides and very crucial 2 points on offer.
राइट. फॉर अफगानिस्तान एज वेल कि उन्होंने भी मैचेस इक्वली जीते हैं, इक्वली पॉइंट्स हैं अफगानिस्तान के पास, पर उनका एनआरआर कम है, इसलिए वो श्रीलंका के बाद पाकिस्तान फिर अफगानिस्तान का स्टैंडिंग है. सो अगर इस मैच में बाय एनी चांस या आगे आने वाले मैचेस में अगर वो अपना एनआरआर मजबूत कर ले जाते हैं, देयर इज अ हाई चांस कि हम जो 4th टीम है वो इन दोनों में से किसी एक को देख सके. तो लेकिन उसी फाइट के लिए आज इन दोनों टीम्स का एक अपने फेवर में रिजल्ट लेना इंपॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज जो भी टीम जीतेगी उसके चांसेस ऑब्वियसली इंक्रीज होंगे इन कंपैरिजन टू द अदर वन. नाउ इस मैच को प्रोसीड करते हुए टॉस अपडेट आ चुकी है and Afghanistan has managed to win the toss. They have opted to field first, which is going to be a benefit for them because MCA की स्टेडियम को लेकर जो पिच है उसके लेकर कहा जा रहा था कि इट्स अ स्किडी पिच. So I would like to know about, क्योंकि मुझे to be very frank मुझे बहुत ही कम आइडिया है पुणे की पिच का. अगर मैं आपको पिच रिपोर्ट भी बताऊं इस पिच की MCA की, सो पिच रिपोर्ट कहती है in Pune for wicket is known, it is a good batting wicket, but paces can also play a role as much as it progresses. Now, a little bit of technical question कि जैसे कि हमने पिच रिपोर्ट में इसके अलावा देखा भी था कि आज की जो पिच प्रिपेयर करी गई है वो स्किडी है. सो इज इट गोइंग टू लाइक स्पिनर्स को ज्यादा सपोर्ट करने वाली है वहां पे? क्या ऐसा कुछ है कि मतलब टीम्स जो जिनके पास बेटर स्पिनर्स होंगे उनको ज्यादा एडवांटेज होगा? इज इट लाइक दैट?
Yes, to an extent, because it's a track which gives a little bit to both pace and spin. But yes, spin has been a good feature at the venue. It was a high-scoring round. I think it is the average score would be somewhere around 300 or so of sorts. But off late, that hasn't really been the case. But still, it's one of the truer surfaces in India. There's good bounce, there's good carry, and I think the value of shots would be on offer. But again, spinners can be into the picture also because the ground dimensions are slightly big. So taking on the spinners or for the batters, it is going to be slightly challenging. And I remember that when India and England were playing, I think a series in 2021, consistently on the score in that series, the higher scores were breached. So it is still a ground where you can see, good scores being made up. Spinners, if you talk about Afghanistan, have got plenty of them, but I still don't think that they would be going down that road where they will be playing 4 spinners. So I think maybe Fazlak Farooqi should be back in instead of, I don't know whom, Noor Ahmed or Mujibur Rahman. But still, they have got plenty of spin talent. Rashid, Mujib, Nabi, Noor, they are all world-class spinners. Sri Lanka on that front are slightly struggling because Mahesh Theekshana, we haven't really seen him hitting his straps really that fine. 3-4 wickets for him. He hasn't really been at his wicket-taking best. So I think Sri Lanka will have to buck up on their bowling front because batting still looks settled for them as well. Like I said, injuries has been a massive issue. Losing out Lahiru Kumara, they already don't have Hasaranga. But the good thing for them is that Dushmanta Chamira comes back, and like you correctly mentioned, it's a skiddy pitch. So someone like who's slightly lanky, who's slightly tall, and he is in general a skiddy bowler. Dushmanta Chamira, has a high arm action, so delivers from a good height and can generate good bounce on this track. So he is another very valuable addition. And not to forget Angelo Matthews, because he also brings in a lot of experience with him. So I think the replacement-wise, Sri Lanka are looking good despite losing out on players. The 2 incoming players, Angelo Matthews and Dushmanta Chamira, they have good amount of experience. Specifically, Matthews has a lot of experience, and that showed as well. The manner in which he played in the previous game. So I think overall Sri Lanka looking balanced. And yes, I do expect spinners to do something, but I'm not expecting Afghanistan to play 4 spinners at least on this track.
Okay, so if we go by the changes, then Afghanistan has announced that they are going to give rest to Noor Ahmed and Fazlak Farooqi will come into the play. And if we go to Sri Lanka, a forced change as Lahiru Kumara is out due to the injury. So Dushmanta Chamira comes in. So I think just going this injury thing and the rest thing, I think there is one skill of each and every player to maintain their fitness and be match ready. I think this is something which is very much underrated because players has to take care of their fitness as well, and then they have to keep their full energy and everything to the match so that they get to play the match जैसा fans को चाहिए, जैसा required है. But then at the same time you have to keep yourself fit for another match as well. I think this is some skill जो players individually करते हैं जो काफी underrated है. हम उतना उसके बारे में discuss नहीं करते. But this is something जहाँ पे श्रीलंका को I think they need to put in some work because अगर ऐसे उनके players injured होते रहे, so eventually आपके पास combination कभी ना कभी तो खत्म होगा, which is going to haunt you in the big tournaments, even in bilateral series as well. But thank God they've got Angelo Matthews and the player who is experienced, who can play matches, who can win matches, who can do everything you want. You can really fit him anywhere. So Angelo Matthews is that player for Sri Lanka, which is definitely going to help them. और आज भी हम उनसे expect करेंगे to do good. But हम एक बार देख लेते हैं player to watch out कौन-कौन से हैं from Sri Lanka and Afghanistan का end. So अफगानिस्तान की तरफ से हम देख सकते हैं वैसे तो डेफिनेटली उनके पास मैच विनर्स की कमी नहीं है, प्लेयर्स जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले उनकी कमी नहीं है, बट रहमानुल्लाह गुरबाज जो कि उनके ओपनर हैं उनको हमने इस पूरे टूर्नामेंट में देखा है काफी अच्छा परफॉर्म करते हुए. उन्होंने अभी तक 31 मैचेस खेले हैं, 1182 रन स्कोर किए हैं, 39.40 उनका एवरेज है, स्ट्राइक रेट इज 87.88, 450s एंड 500s उनके नाम है, 151 being his highest score. Now if we go to Sri Lanka, then this one player Kusal Mendis has been really good throughout the tournament. Runs उन्होंने स्कोर किए हैं अपनी टीम के लिए when it is required, और अभी कैप्टेंसी भी वो कर रहे हैं जब से दासुन शनाका बाहर हुए हैं. उनके ODI करियर की बात करें तो he has played 217 matches, और 3,444 रन स्कोर कर चुके हैं, एवरेज 32.80, 86.79 स्ट्राइक रेट, 26 50s, 300s and 122 being good fighters. So now the golden question for there, who's going to be the player to watch, or other than these two from their respective teams?
See, I think Pathum Nisanka, it's very tough to look beyond him because the manner in which he has been batting, even Kusal Mendes, he has shown great form. His namesake, he has been dropped today. I think Kusal Pereira is not playing and Dimut Karnaratne replaces him. But if you look at the manner in which Nisanka has been batting, one of the most prolific ODI batters in 2023, taken the World Cup by storm as well, 4 consecutive half centuries for him. So he is one of the big positives, and he's a young player, someone who understands the game really well, and he's not a lot experienced, but when you watch him bat, has got a lot of shots in his armory, and when you watch him bat, it does not look like that he is not someone who hasn't already played 150 games for Sri Lanka, and that is a very good quality to have, because as a top order batter, you have to be responsible. You have to make sure that you're giving those good positive starts, and that is something that Pathum Nisanka has really been able to do. From Afghanistan, I think Rahmanullah Gurbaz, yes, he has been one of the absolute finds from Afghanistan. In the previous game as well against Pakistan, I think an 87-88 run knock for him. And the good thing, Ratsi, that Afghanistan were known for their bowling. Now the batters are really stepping up, because if you look at the top of the order, Ibrahim Zadran, he got an 80 odd in the previous game. Gurbaz got a half century. Shahidi and there's Rahmat Shah. He also scored, I think, a 48 odd. So the top order is giving them runs, and if Afghanistan can back their bowling skill with the bat, I absolutely think it's going to become one of the world-beating sides rather sooner than later, and I think that is something that they've been really able to do. So Gurbaz, of course, is one of the players to keep an eye on, but Ibrahim Zadran, he is another very solid player at the top of the order, and the partnership between these two, they have given plenty of good starts to Afghanistan consistently, and even against the good sides. Even against the bigger sides who have good players, they have actually managed to score big partnerships. So I think top order looks really settled for Afghanistan, and Zadran and Nisanka would be my other 2 players to watch out for, apart from the ones you mentioned.
Right. Talking about Afghanistan being known for the bowling side, I think Rashid Khan is one of the reasons why this has been happening, and he is going to play his 100th ODI today, 100th international match, I guess, and not just the ODI, but 100th international match. And I think is he like the only player from Afghanistan who has managed to do so? What do you think, Satya? I'm not very sure about the stat though. What do you think?
No, I will have to also confirm it. Not the 100th ODI. I think he would be playing his 100th ODI rather, not the 100th international game.
Okay, so is he the only player to do so from the Afghanistan side?
No, definitely not. I think Mohammad Nabi has played almost 150 ODIs out of all 157 that Afghanistan have played, 157 or 158. So experience-wise, I think these are experienced players who have hung around for very long. And if whenever you talk about Afghanistan, the players like Shahidi, Rashid, Nabi, and the likes are going to come to your mind. And like I said, overall, if you see balance-wise, the Omar Zai, Ibrahim Akhil, these are players who are coming up the ranks in the bowling department. Fazlak Farooqi, has not been on the best. I think that is one of the negatives of Afghanistan, that he is a strike bowler, because he is the one who has the responsibility to strike with the new ball, and he hasn't been at his best. But Naveen Ullah, Fazlak Farooqi, they are 2 great options with the ball, have variations, can vary the pace, can do things with the new ball. Spin, like we talked already, Rashid, Nabi, Mujib, Noor Ahmed, a stellar spinner. I think Noor Ahmed in the previous game as well, it's actually a shame that he has to sit out because of the combination and things. He has to sit out today. But again, a very promising talent who is uprising. And then you have the top order, like I said, Zadran is giving you runs, Gurbaz is giving you runs. Zadran was slightly quiet, but then he got a good innings against Pakistan in the last game. And Shahidi and Rahmat Shah are again experienced contenders. So if you look at the overall side and overall balance, it is looking very solid on the paper, and that is also reflecting on how Afghanistan have fared. Defeating England and Pakistan is no mean feat, and you did not expect that to happen when the World Cup started. So I think overall it's a very balanced side, and I won't be really surprised, Ratsi, because if you remember the Asia Cup match that these 2 sides played not too very long ago, in which Afghanistan lost by just 2 runs, and those net run rate miscalculations when they were in a position to qualify for the Super Fours, and that entire fiasco where Rashid Khan and they were in the middle and they had to chase I think within 37 or 38 overs, something like
And
that. I can't
they did
exactly
it.
remember the scenario, but they ended up losing that game from a position of strength. So not only did they not qualify, but they lost that game by 2 runs. But they ran
Right.
Sri Lanka very very close in their home. So like that is what I'm trying to say, that Afghanistan is becoming an actual force to reckon with. And if they continue playing the same brand of cricket, I won't be surprised that if they actually down the time you reach to the 2027 World Cup, although it's in South Africa, so we have to keep that in mind. But I won't be very surprised if 2027 it becomes a side whom you would start fancying to qualify for even the semi-finals.
Right.
क्योंकि अभी अफगानिस्तान इज वन ऑफ दो साइड जिससे हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि एक दो मैचेस पे अगर वो जीतते हैं तो हम बोलेंगे कि उनका वर्ल्ड कप एक सक्सेसफुल टूर्नामेंट रहा. बट
Yeah,
4 साल
right.
आई डेफिनेटली सी देम बिकमिंग अ साइड जिसको शायद आप बोलेंगे कि इनको सेमीफाइनल्स भी क्वालिफाई करना चाहिए.
Definitely, and I think in this tournament itself, जो हमने दो back-to-back win देखी अफगानिस्तान की, जो इसके पहले कभी आई नहीं है. I think maybe because of a little bit of Ajay Jadeja factor, because he is the mentor of the team, and हो सकता है कि वो जो जिसे कहते हैं ना, the strength, the motivation and everything which comes up because he is from some legacy जो कि Indian cricket है, तो वहाँ से हो सकता है कि वो pass on करी गई अफगानिस्तान टीम को, जिसकी वजह से हमें ये results देखने को मिले. Might be, I'm not giving him full credit, but it might be some reason. आप comment section में बता सकते हैं आपको क्या लगता है, what is the reason behind Afghanistan's success in this tournament and their जो जिस तरह से उनकी journey रही है, जो कि इतनी upscale रही है, उसके बारे में भी आपको क्या लगता है, what can be the reason? Now I'm going to show you the playing 11 of both the teams, as I've got the whole 11 of Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. Now Afghanistan की तरफ से we can see Rahmanullah Gurbaz, the wicketkeeper and the opener, Rahmat Shah, Mohammad Nabi, Umar Zazai, Mujibur Rahman, Ibrahim Zadran, Hashmatullah Shahidi, Ikram Alikhil, Rashid Khan, Naveen Haq और Fazal Farooqi. Now if you go to Sri Lanka playing 11, then here is the 11: Patum Nisanka, B. Karnaratne, Kusal Mendes, Sama Vikrama, Sharit Aslanka, Dhananjay, Angelo Matthews, Kasun Ranjita, Mahesh Sikshana, D. Chamira or Madhushanka. Now, other than the playing 11, I've got an interesting question, Pratyay, from our YouTube, one of the YouTube follower of ours. So he has asked this key question on this match day of Sri Lanka and Afghanistan. क्या पाकिस्तान के लिए कोई chance है? Would you like to answer this?
Definitely, they are not ruled out by any means. They are still very much alive in the tournament. It is going to be tough. I'm not saying that it will be an easy ride for Pakistan because 4 losses on the trot. It's never easy. In these kind of tournaments, you really can't afford to slip up and slip up by the extent to which Pakistan have been causing their slip up. So I think it's going to be difficult, but still, I feel that in these kind of tournaments, you are rather better off taking no one lightly because strange things have really happened. It's not that, we always say that cricket is a funny game, things can happen. So you would rather want to knock the opposition out completely and don't leave even a single penny worth of life in them. Because if you do that and if you're giving the opposition a chance to come back in these kind of tournaments, on their day, they can do anything. And if you go by the World Cup, the general theme that we have seen, last 3-4 days, you really have seen a lot of thrillers. Up until that game that South Africa, 1-wicket victory against Pakistan, Netherlands then defeats Sri Lanka, Netherlands defeats Bangladesh. Then you saw what happened yesterday was a bit of a one-sided game, but then it turned out to be one-sided. Otherwise, India were really not in a position where you could have thought that they would win. But to score 230, defend and win by 100, so that was another that kind of a game. And not to forget Australia, New Zealand. 388 runs being scored and only 5 runs separating the two sides. So, the World Cup has suddenly become alive. Before that, you were having these games where, Australia thrashes Netherlands by 300 runs, New Zealand beating someone by 149, someone by 102. So those were all one-sided games.
South Africa winning every match with a margin of 100 runs.
See that.
Every match.
And, absolutely. So suddenly, South Africa, 1-wicket victory, Netherlands causes an upset of sorts, upsets, because I don't know if we should be calling that an upset against Bangladesh.
Yeah, that's a new debate.
Last 4 or 5 games, if you see, the trend has suddenly changed. The World Cup has gotten live. और सब लोग ये बोल रहे थे कि इस बार के World Cup में वो मजा नहीं आ रहा है, one-sided matches हो रहे हैं. So once the thriller started coming in or the good games started coming in, they have come thick and fast. 4-5 games, if you look in the past, the recent ones, they have all been thriller of sorts, or they have all been games which will keep you hooked, on the edge of your seat. So I think from that perspective, you don't want any team to be given even this much of a chance, because if you leave the door, they might just barge inside. So Pakistan not out entirely, but it's going to be very, very, very difficult for them to qualify from this position. So yes, I am sort of counting them out, but yes, they still have an outside chance, so not yet over.
चलिए मैं आपको सोशल ट्रैकर की तरफ लेके चलती हूँ डिस्कस मोर एंड मोर अबाउट द ट्वीट्स हु आर गोइंग वायरल फॉर दिस मैच. हमारा पहला ट्वीट कहता है, रिमेंबर अफगानिस्तान वर्सेस श्रीलंका एशिया कप. डेफिनेटली वी कैन नॉट फॉरगेट द काइंड ऑफ मैचेस दे हैव प्लेड इन एशिया कप, द काइंड ऑफ राइवलरी वी ऑल हैव. Now let me go and take you to this another tweet. Match day Afghanistan or Sri Lanka. Good luck, guys, and definitely good luck from our end as well, as we are here to witness another clash, which is mouth-watering as well. Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka will be interesting now. अच्छा, इसके पहले नहीं था शायद, but अभी interesting दिख रहा है. All are pretty much likely to happen except Afghanistan versus Sri Lanka and New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. The winners of these games are likely to be Sri Lanka and New Zealand respectively. So with this, the golden question comes in, Pratyay. Since we all know both the teams are very well, like they are known to win matches now, because now they are winning the matches. They are showing the intent. They're putting their efforts, and they are also having some kind of like pros and cons as well. So which team do you prefer to win today's match? Which team are you rooting for today?
See, frankly, like you showed the points table, not a lot separating these two sides. They are tied on points, but it's just that Afghanistan, whenever they have lost by massive margins. They were bowled out 157 against Bangladesh, 149 run loss against New Zealand. So yes, that is why they are behind on net run rate. But purely from the sense of cricketing inspiration, and in these kind of tournaments you want a little bit of jeopardy. वो एक खतरा होता है, उससे मजा आता है जब आप टूर्नामेंट में ऐसी टीम्स को जीतते हुए देखते हो जिनसे कि शायद आपने उतनी उम्मीद नहीं करी थी. And I'm sure Arsi, everyone would agree that if Afghanistan managed to win today, 3 wins in the World Cup, no one could have thought when the World Cup started it would be entirely something else. Not to forget the fact that they are chasing, so they will also know what kind of target they have in front of them, and underlies a true surface like Pune, slightly skiddy. If dew comes into play, then chasing becomes slightly easy. And maybe, if dew comes into play, they will also be able to counter the spin threat of Sri Lanka to some extent. All in all, I think Afghanistan, I am backing them to perhaps maybe, go ahead, but still not discounting Sri Lanka, because they also have, defeated England, Netherlands, slightly lesser oppositions, but still the experience of, Matthews, Chamira, all of that getting added up. Afghanistan can very well still go on to win this match. So I am backing them, but let's see where it goes.
Right. तो ठीक है, चलिए हम लोग भी मैच अभी थोड़ी देर में शुरू होने वाला है. अभी नेशनल एंथम होगा within 2 minutes and afterwards हम देखेंगे within 5 minutes मैच को स्टार्ट होते हुए. मैच के बाद हम लोग फिर से लौटेंगे, डिस्कस करेंगे मोर एंड मोर अबाउट क्रिकेट. तब तक आप कमेंट सेक्शन में हमें जरूर बताइए कि आज आपके हिसाब से कौन सी टीम है जो जीत सकती है. और बाकी हम लोग मैच के बाद फिर से वापस लौटेंगे और डिस्कस करेंगे आज के इस मैच के बारे में हर एक अपडेट. तब तक आप देखते रहिए क्रिक ट्रैकर इंडिया शो.